Across the UK, this is Broadcast Revolution's Radio Road Trip.
Hello and welcome back to Broadcast Revolution's Radio Road Trip. I am Shelley and I'm delighted to be joined by the station manager of Central FM, Anne-Marie Miller. Hi Anne-Marie, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you, Shelley?
I'm good, thank you. So thank you for taking the time to do this with us today. I'm going to go straight in. Obviously, you know, with everything that's happened with COVID-19, we know there's been quite big changes across radio. But now we're kind of wondering, as we're coming out of lockdown and becoming back to more normal than we were, let's say, we're kind of looking to find out how things are changing and how things are kind of progressing now. So how would you say you at Central FM have been impacted by COVID-19?
So I think we've come into our own from a content and broadcast point of view. So obviously when lockdown came in, we had to very quickly put measures in place and give all our presenters the ability to broadcast from home. So we made that decision very much early on, and we were lucky that we got all the equipment. So we made the decision that in the studio it would just be our breakfast presenters. We've got 2 studios, so they both had a studio each, and the rest of the daytime and evening lineup would just work from home.
So please can you tell me about the hospice project that you were talking about that I know you've been running on Central FM?
Yeah, so once we went into lockdown, we quickly established that the hospice was going to have a devastating impact on the fundraising. So we very quickly put together a campaign called Stand with Strathcarron. And the aim of the campaign was to get the local people to do something, however small or however big, for the hospice. Our plan, talking to the hospice fundraising team, was that we were hopeful that over the next few months we would be able to raise at least £80,000. That was the figure we had in our heads, but we didn't go to air with that figure. We just thought if we could do that, that would be amazing. We got an update 2 weeks ago and it's sitting at nearly £400,000 that's been raised so far. We totally gave over... we probably gave them an airtime campaign that would have been worth to us about £50,000, because we literally every single hour of every day we ran a message about Strathcarron. We had pre-recorded trailers. We also on our drive time show, because obviously our drive time show, it's usually frantic and busy, telling you about traffic and travel and all the updates and what roads is busy. None of that was happening. So we gave that show over to highlight the people in our communities who were doing so much good for Strathcarron, but also for any other community projects like food banks, etc., things like that. But we had everybody from children fundraising for Strathcarron right through to the elderly. And one lady sticks out in my mind. She was a little old lady who's probably in her 90s, and she was inspired by Major Tom and his fundraising efforts for the NHS. She decided with her little walking frame to walk around her street. Basically, she got a little roundel thing in her street. She walked around that, hoping to raise £100, and I think she's raised over £1,500 so far. So it's been amazing, the amount of people who have really stepped up to make a difference. And not just the Strathcarron thing, but people setting up community projects to go out and look after the elderly, to feed the poor, and just really make a huge difference.
Yeah, I think it's been really special how people have been going so far above and beyond for their communities, and you've obviously got the great platform to kind of share that, and I think that's really special. Do you think that's something that, obviously you changed your programming to make time for that. Do you think that's something you'll continue to do moving forward?
Well, do you know what we've got currently running? Because obviously you have to slowly get back into normal ways of life, but we, from the absolutely amazing stories and everybody doing great things, we were getting people contacting us saying, you should do some kind of an award and recognise those in our communities. So we decided, this is a good idea. Obviously, we can't do an award ceremony because, who knows when that kind of thing will be back, happening, award ceremonies, etc. So we decided to launch the Central FM COVID Awards. We launched them in the middle of August, and we've been blown away by the results. So this is for people in our communities who have done, gone above and beyond. We'll get everything from the Make a Difference to, a community award to, voluntary groups that have set up just purely to help people out through the COVID crisis, to lockdown entertainment. I don't know if where you live, Shirley, but we had so many local people doing, either Facebook Lives or Zoom events, and, from singers to comedians to DJs, just putting on entertainment. You logged into their profile, whatever, I'm not very technical, but you logged in and you could sit for an hour watching them entertain. And, people have just went above and beyond, I think. So the plan is the nominations close in September, and then we're taking over the radio station for a week, and we're going to have a week of on-air awards. So we're going to whittle it down to 3 nominations per category, focus on those nominations, and then announce the winner of each category on air. And then after the week, we'll go out and present. They'll get a beautiful trophy, and we'll go out and present that to the individual winners.
That sounds really special. And I think kind of with local radio, it's so nice that you kind of had the opportunity to give those people in your community that exposure. Because, you were saying, obviously, have you seen that in your end? And yeah, I'm London based, and I have, but I don't think it's the same. I don't think it's the same way of, giving the local people their shine. Like, I know a few people that did a few things, but it's not that special, community. It's just different. But on that point of you mentioning you're taking over the radio station in October, I was going to say to you, Christmas is obviously coming up. Do you have any big events other than your awards, for Christmas, or anything planned?
Not really. Everything's a bit up in the air. We normally do our normal Santa calls and advent calendars and different things like that. So we're hopeful that we can still go ahead with all of that this year. But I think our big special thing is the awards. We decided we would do them just now and do them for October. So that's going to be the big highlight for this year, recognising those in our community. And as you say, being a local radio station, we can really get into the heart of the community and deliver this.
So yeah, on that point, obviously, in terms of your audience, you've got a real community-based audience. Do you know, the age range of your audience?
Yeah, so our core audience is aged from 25 to 54, and we're predominantly females. We're about 52% females and 48% males. But that's our core audience. Obviously, we have some younger listeners and we have some older listeners as well, but that's where the majority of our audience fall into that category. Our demographics is across the board, but we do have a high number of ABC1 listeners as well. So I think, for us being a local radio station, we target everything to what the audience tells us they want to hear. Even down to, when we do competitions, promotions, etc. It's all about the lifestyle that our audience leads.
Yeah, so I was going to say that. So obviously you kind of judge your programming based on what your audience wants to hear. What do they want to hear? Like, for you, would you take the celebrity stories, or would you prefer, obviously, the local case study stories?
Shelley, it's a real mixture. So, we obviously have our daily showbiz update that we run every day. And people are interested in that because people do like to hear about what celebrities are getting up to. But they love the local stories as well. And I think, that really places us in the heart of the community. We're a trusted brand. Central FM has been broadcasting for just over 30 years. We did have a big party planned for our 30th anniversary in June, but that all had to be scrapped because of, obviously, COVID. Hopefully we'll bring that back next year. But we're a trusted name, and I think people really listen to us because they know that, our presenters are all local. Everything we broadcast is broadcast local from where we're based. We often do kind of surveys with our audience to see what they want, basically. And everything. You know, we're very much a family-friendly radio station. You'll never hear anything offensive with us. And, you know, if you're in the car and your children are in the car, then you can be rest assured it's, you know, it's very much safe to listen to us. There's not going to be anything coming out the speaker that's going to shock your children.
So with that in mind, obviously you said there's kind of a balance mostly of, you know, the celebrities and the local stories. How often would you say you take like PR stories in comparison to, like, you know, stories that your own researchers go out and find?
Probably that's down to content, and I wish Liam had been here because he would have been really good in this interview as well. So Liam's our content manager. He's on holiday this week. It's really down if it's a story that's relevant to our audience, and that's, you know, we don't have any hard and fast rules and say we'll only take, you know, stories that, you know, are going to come from PR companies or local. Probably the majority it's locally driven, because the news team, the content team, even myself, we keep an eye on social media, we keep an eye on what's going on round about us, and we pick up things from there, basically. But if a good PR story's coming in and it's, you know, got a relevance to us, then yeah, then we'll definitely run with it. We do frequently get PR stories coming in and it's from a national perspective, and we would very rarely ever run with them because, you know, we are a local radio station, and that's, you know, people tune in to us because they want to hear about local things.
Yeah, as in I that makes sense about the national perspective, but I'm kind of thinking, other than the national perspective, I know this is like asking how long is a piece of string, but what would you call a good PR story? It's a tough one.
That is a really tough one. Probably something, you know, the guys here are really good, and especially in news, I would say. So, you know, there can be national news stories come in, and we try and flip that and put it to a local perspective. So when we get national stuff coming in, but if we think there's mileage on it and we can turn that, then we'll go out and we'll, you know, we're a very small team here, Shelley. You know, in total we have 11 employees. You know, my news team has 2 members and 2 journalists, and we have a couple of freelance journalists in at the weekend. But, you know, Monday to Friday they work, you know, throughout the day, and they do an amazing job for just having the 2 of them. You know, they split the shifts, and one of them's out doing reporting, you know, finding out, just like I said, if national things, they flip them and bring a local edge into it.
No, that sounds great. So it's mainly 2 kind of producers or planners that are building the content, would you say?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, now moving away from that whole side of things, what would you say for you personally your funniest moment in radio has been?
Oh God, you know, I was reading that earlier and I was thinking, funniest moment.
Not sure. What about your proudest?
My proudest moment, that's really easy to tell you, Shelley.
Yeah.
So years ago, we used to run a winter road safety campaign. So it was in 2005, now I'm going back a number of years now, but in 2005, we were approached by, at that point, Central Scotland Police. And I don't know if you're aware, but we only have one police force in Scotland. It was just Police Scotland. But at that time, each area had their own police force. So we were approached by Central Scotland Police to see if we could help them in any way come up with a campaign to encourage safe driving habits, and with a real focus on, you know, speeding, drink driving, use of mobile phones, because these were all contributing to fatalities on the road in this area. And we are a small area in comparison to some of the bigger areas. So, but the big challenge for them is they didn't have any money to spend on a campaign. And we're a commercial business, you know. Okay, we're in the entertainment, we're in the information business, but essentially, we're a commercial business, and the only way we get our money is through our advertisers and sponsors. So it was one of those very difficult ones. Could we do this? Could we dedicate a lot of airtime to this campaign? And then I came up with the idea of if they were happy for me to go and get an external sponsor, and we did it, and we created a partnership between Central FM Diageo, who are a huge international worldwide drinks manufacturer, who has a big manufacturing plant on our area, and the police. And the campaign ran for 4 years, from 2005 to 2009. And when we set it off in 2005, the police are always working, and every police force does this, they're always working to 5-year road safety targets, right? And by 2008, so the targets they were working to was they were to hit them by 2010. By 2008, Central Scotland Police had smashed all the road safety targets. They were the only UK police force in that 5-year period to achieve their road safety targets. But the biggest thing is we brought road fatalities in this area to zero. So there was still road crashes, but no fatalities, because people were really taking on board the road safety messages. And it was purely down to the fact this was a very targeted campaign. People were listening to us in the car. We had hard-hitting, emotional commercials. We were saying things like, what speed are you doing? Look at your speedometer, etc. And it really, really worked. And so that was really proud, and I'm really proud of the fact that we were then recognised within the industry. So we were recognised by the radio industry, and we won a Kiva Station Award, for Station of the Year Award, for the best creative campaign to go out across the UK. So we were recognised by that. But not only that, out with the industry, Prince Michael does the International Road Safety Awards, and we were awarded the Prince Michael Road Safety Award for 2008 as well. So that's probably my proudest moments, to be honest with you, the fact that we managed to save lives through this campaign and we were recognised for it.
I said, I'm not surprised that's your proudest moment. That's really, truly incredible. Zero fatalities. That's wow. Would you consider now, so that was 2008, yeah?
Yeah. So
would you look to do something similar again? I know it's obviously different at the moment. Things are slightly, challenging, but that sounds like an incredible campaign. Would you look to maybe, do a partnership campaign with a big organisation that you can kind of both work together to help the people in Scotland?
Yes. So so I used to run Central FM. I was the station manager here from 2002 to 2010, and then I left and I went to work for Bauer Radio. Obviously you can cut this bit out, but just give you the background. And I came back to run Central FM in 2018, and last year I brought back the road safety campaign because the figures have went through the roof again. There's fatalities, there's everything. So again, when the local police head, I was back working, running they got back in touch with me, and we devised the campaign, and we got Diageo back on last year to sponsor it. So I'm hoping, it's too early because we've not been able to get together to plan for this year, but that would be a big thing. We would love to do again. But anything like that, there's I think that's where our strength lies. We can run these things because we're not tied into, I don't want to say, but corporate radio. So corporate radio, they have such strict guidelines, and they have, they're not allowed to do this, they're not allowed to do that. And a lot of the programme is networked across the whole of Scotland. So they can't focus in on a local area. From a content point of view, it's pretty generic. So that's where our strength is. We can really take a campaign and be the ones who are campaigning for whatever the cause is. I think, and that was demonstrated by both the road safety campaign and then the campaign to raise all that money for Strathcam Hospice.
Yeah, I definitely think that's really powerful, and it's interesting because maybe that's, progression for local radio, right? The local stories are incredible, and it's amazing that we've got that out there. And obviously through coronavirus, we've seen so many more people doing things, but actually to run campaigns like that, maybe every local radio should be following kind of in your example, not showing any bias here, but that you do have that power. As you said, you don't have the restrictions that you might have at more corporate stations, and it can make a real real difference like you've shown, so that's fantastic. But I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I think we will end on me asking you, so where do you get your news from mainly?
So our news is mainly, obviously we get the IRN feeds coming in, but our news is generated by our two journalists. So we have Andrew and Paul, and they're both amazing and they deliver a really high standard, but it's their investigating, they'll have I'm so proud of the two of them because they just work so hard. They're in constant touch with all the emergency services, the police, the fire, etc. But they're on all the kind of social media platforms across the area that we broadcast, and they're always sniffing out stories, etc. So most of our news is coming locally from these two guys, but we do get the IRN feeds in for anything national. And again, there's importance in national stories and international stories, and we do cover them. But first and foremost, we're a local radio station, and people want to hear what's happening locally.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, Anne-Marie. It's been a real pleasure talking to you today.
You've been listening to Broadcast Revolution's Radio Road Trip. Follow us on Twitter @BroadcastRevo and Instagram @BroadcastRevolution. #Join the Broadcast Revolution.